is going on, chemical industry family, partners, and friends? Welcome back to the Smart Asset Podcast, where we continue to let borons be borons. Today's show is brought to us by Univar Solutions, which offers the reliability that delivers. No matter if your chemistry grows, flows, or knows, Univar Solutions is a valued partner you need to bring into the right product to the right solution at the right time. So go to univarsolutions.com today to find your right solution. This is Andy Erickson, your storied host of the Smart Asset Podcast, and I'm here with the white smoke to the Smart Asset Conclave. It's the Heartbreaker, Chris Ernst. Heartbreaker, my man, how you holding up?
Awesome as always, Andy. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. Hey, do you think, Chris, there's any overlap between our alternative music and alternative fuels?
There may be. I'm hoping to find out.
Yeah, well, I really have no idea either. But what's great is we are bringing in Jacob Givens today. He's an actor, a social media influencer, and a marketing director for Univar Solutions customer Biofriendly. Jacob has over 500,000 followers across multiple platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Music. Jacob focuses on 90s alternative music, which educates the young and satisfies the nostalgia need for kids of the 90s. He also has 9 acting credits, 6 writing credits, 2 production credits, and this is all on his IMDb, that's something we do not have, Heartbreaker.
That's correct. Yeah.
We should look into that, though. Anyway, he's perfect for the next Cameron Crowe movie, if you ask me. But beyond that, he has a passion for chemistry and alternative fuels and the friendlier chemistries that we find there. So let's get to it and let's talk to him a little bit. Jacob, man, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Doing great, Andy, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you taking some time for us little guys.
I do what I can.
We're going to try to sneak into some of your listeners, but not sure how much they're wanting in on this.
Way more listeners and way more credits than you and I are ever going to have, I think.
Too kind. That was a really nice bio. I'm going to need to borrow that. That was good stuff.
All right. Before we get into the real good stuff, Jacob, we have a quiz usually. We ask our guests, and it's 5 questions. Today, it's all based on alternative music or they're within. I mean, we took a little bit of a swag at it, so there's some out there. You willing to play?
I'm willing to play. Let's do it.
All right. Somewhat of an easy one out of the gates.
Fingers crossed.
The Heartbreaker and I are both from Chicago. Which of the following is it not a Chicago-based alternative rock band? Is it the Smashing Pumpkins, Wilco, Soundgarden, or the Chevelles?
That is going to be Soundgarden, is not a Chicago-based band.
Boom. One for one.
Well done. 1 for 1.
Smashing Pumpkins is my favorite band of all time. So I knew that was a solid Chicago band right there. And the other 2 are fantastic too.
Jacob, I saw Pumpkins open for Green Day at Wrigley.
Yes.
Just last year.
Yeah.
8 months ago, give or take.
Saw that show. What a show. Beast of a show. So good.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. Okay, second question, Jacob, which I'm not real sure is a rock question or an alternative rock question.
We took some liberties.
Yeah.
We took a few liberties.
I like liberties.
The historic Cabo Wabo Cantina in Mexico was built 3 times larger than on the blueprint. How or why could that have happened?
Okay, so the only reason I recognize the name Cabo Wabo is that was famously Sammy Hagar's brand of tequila that he did all sorts of stuff for. So I have to assume that Hagar wanted a concert venue included so he could play music or something for one of his cantinas. So that's my guess.
I love it, and that guess would be logical, Jacob, but it's apparently a happy little mistake.
Okay.
Blueprints in feet, and the people who built the location thought it was meters. So it's beautifully 3 times as large.
Well, that's great. I love that. Well, then now he has an excuse for playing in that venue. So.
Exactly.
All right, number 3. This 1991 movie, Point Break, starred this band's lead as he played the surfer role under the name Tone. He was later removed from the scenes, as rumor has it he did not take the fight scene seriously with Keanu Reeves, also known as Bodie. What is the
Okay.
band?
I'm pretty sure Red Hot Chili Peppers are in Point Break, Flea, and Kiedis. I feel like Kiedis is that role, and that's the part that got cut.
2 out of 3. Oh, we're getting partial credit for number 2, so 2.5
I'm
out of
thoroughly
3.
impressed. Yes.
There it is, yes.
Jacob, well done. Question number 4, the answer to which is a band made up of 2 brothers who had an infamous type career, and supposedly in 1996 they were supposed to play MTV Unplugged. Turns out, some sort of a tiff/fight, only one of the brothers performs, while the other one supposedly watched from the balcony while enjoying a cigarette/beer/anything else one might do from the balcony. So who is that band?
Well, that sounds like Liam and Noel Gallagher from the band Oasis, famously fighting all the time, who just reunited. And I told everybody, don't hold your breath. That tour will probably be canceled because those guys are going to fight again.
That's a good bet.
Killing this. We should have made this a lot harder.
I've made an entire online career out of my 90s knowledge.
I know. Number 5. At the SNL 50, what comedian confronted Eddie Vedder claiming he hated Pearl Jam because he considers them the founding fathers of the alternative grunge rock?
Bill Burr.
And bonus question, tell us a little bit why he thinks that.
So he, at the time, thought that all the cool, like the rock and the hair metal and that great stuff was being killed by these bands coming along and and he didn't give it any attention or time or energy and just kind of blew it off and just was like, I hate Pearl Jam, classic Bill Burr style. And then years later, he was like, oh, it's actually a really good band. So that's what I recall hearing from it. Yeah,
that's exactly what I heard. I think he said, which rang to me, was Bill Burr was like, it's like they crushed my youth.
Yes.
He's like, okay, Nirvana came on. He's like, nobody else is going to do this. And then he's like, Pearl Jam's like, there's more. He's like, there was all my hair bands gone. My youth is gone.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that story.
It's so funny to see because we were there to witness it, how literally you went to bed one night and it was Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and then you woke up the next day and it was Nirvana. It was like the entire world just went and switched.
On its head. That's fantastic. What's that total tally, by the way?
I think it's
I think
I'm
bonus
going
points, you might be the first person to ever get above 100%. Yes!
Yes!
All right, well, let's just close. Let's just end it here. We should just end it here.
And I thought I caught a little bit of an Eddie Vedder. Yeah. I mean, that's got to be worth a bonus point as well.
So if you could just play Eddie Vedder for the rest of the show, it'd be fantastic.
No problem, fellas. I'll do that for you.
All right, Jacob, let's get into some of the real stuff. First, talk to us a little bit about your alternative music-themed social media channel. And then can you connect it to Biofriendly, and how'd you get there? How do you bring the two worlds together?
It's an interesting story because like most things viral or on the internet, you can't predict it. And I did not expect it to happen. I moved to Los Angeles 24 years ago as an aspiring actor and did like most of us do and kind of chase the dream, did just about everything, wrote screenplays, did stand-up comedy for 10 years, tried my hand at everything. And back when social media was really getting off the ground, I was trying to find ways to turn it into something. And it was during the pandemic, somebody said to me, you should make a TikTok. And I was like, I am way too old for TikTok. I was like, I think that's kids dancing on there. That's not for me. But boredom prevailed. And I made one day when we were still working from home and things were quiet and simple. I was goofing around on the app. I had like 20 followers, mostly friends and family. And one day I just made this video about what it was like hearing Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit for the first time. And I almost didn't publish it because it was just silly. I recorded the video talking to myself back and forth. And once I looked back at my phone, I realized it didn't record my speaking audio at all because it was playing the song that I chose. So I was like, this is like a bizarre Buster Keaton silent film thing I've got going on here. So I started adding captions at the bottom, hit publish the next day. And within, I checked my app during lunchtime, and it was at that point in time, it was a couple 100,000 views. And I called my wife and I was like, I think I'm going viral. It's like, I don't know what's happening. And then by that evening, it was crawling towards 1 million. And by that night, 1 million. So then the next morning I did it again with the song Creep by Radiohead, because I was just choosing these songs that were very jarring for us as young adults, teenagers at the time. It was like that sound and Creep that just would, So I made that video. That went to 1 million. And then a couple weeks into it, I do one for Rage Against the Machine, and Tom Morello sees it on Twitter at the time, and he tweets it out. And then there's this article about me in Spin Magazine about how this guy perfectly captures what it was like to hear music in the 90s. And I was like, how is this happening? And all I can assume is that I wasn't trying for anything. I was just kind of being me. And I was just sharing my love. I wasn't putting on an actor face. I wasn't performing. Because if you spend any time with me in person, I'm exactly like the dude in the videos. You go see a live band with me, you're going to just see this like bright-eyed, hair blown back, like, yeah. So that I think I somehow captured that. And I remember as it was happening, I had started at Biofriendly in 2019. I work with one of my best friends in the world, Noel Carroll. He runs the company, and he and I had made a movie together. We had made web series together. We had done so much together. And he had this company that was doing its best to help reduce emissions from fuel. And he brought me on in 2019. And so I had started this company, and then this virality happened about a year or so into it. So it was a really interesting balance of like, all of a sudden I'm doing this thing. So I had to learn how to really live in two worlds at the same time, kind of do my job and then have fun on the weekend. But it's been a great thing. I mean, going to meetings and meeting people and talking about what I do for the environment, and being in DC, and then suddenly have somebody there and be like, dude, are you the guy who made the Smashing Pumpkins video? So it's a really fun icebreaker and an opportunity for me to connect with people. And so we're talking about helping the planet and do good things. And I think that my videos try to remember good things as well, to inspire. It's positive. I'm definitely not one of those music channels that gatekeeps like this is cool and this isn't. It's a celebration of music. And I think that that's really where it connects with what I do for a living, which is I'm trying to help people in both circles.
Jacob, quick question, thinking aloud. Can you talk to us a little bit about how Univar Solutions and Biofriendly came together, and how we're working together?
Whenever you're starting to get anything from a small business standpoint, you're trying to get things across the country, it's all about partnership. To equate it to bands getting together, you often hear these stories of you got the bassist, the drummer, the guitar player, the singer, something's not working, something's not gelling. They're writing these tunes, they've got a demo tape, nothing's taken off the ground, and then suddenly a band member leaves and they find the guy, they find the secret sauce, comes in, starts shredding, and they're like, boom, that was the ingredient, that was the recipe for success. And I think that just like anything, partnership and people who can see the vision and how you need to get there are critical parts to moving forward. And so when you partner up with Univar and Biofriendly and you find a way to build these solutions together, that's how it works. And that's why it's been a successful partnership. And we continue to move forward with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jacob, can you give us just a little bit more on, Biofriendly mission,
Sure.
details of the company for our listeners?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Biofriendly has been around for over 20 years, more than that, started late 90s. And our flagship product is called Green Plus, and it's a fuel additive that acts as a catalyst in the engine, and it creates better combustion. So more of the fuel is ignited within the engine, so less is coming out of the tailpipe. So when it's initially entering into the market, it's fuel efficiency and helping with the torque of the engine. But one of the happy accidents is less CO2 is coming out, less NOx, less SOx, less all the bad stuff, particulate matter. It's not coming out as much. It's making these reductions. So in the mid 2000s, primarily Texas, as an example, was in violation of their air quality with the EPA. So that's really when our company entered the marketplace, and they had to solve something. And so, for example, California had a similar issue of these polluted cities. You know, everybody knows famously the smog of LA, and the way they handled it in the 80s was refining. And so they spent a lot of money on refining, and that ends up costing 35 cents a gallon to refine the oil. But Texas, when presented with the same option, Texas being Texas, they were like, we're not going to spend all this. We want to, what can we do? So they opened up the market to fuel additives. So us, amongst others, you know, there's several in the market that do the same thing. But ours does the best. I got to brag on it. It's the least expensive. It's the most efficient. The treat rate's the best. And it entered in, really dominated. And now we're in like 70% of the market in Texas, but we're also in Latin America. We're also overseas. So primarily what's kept the company going is helping reduce emissions, greenhouse gas emissions, particulate matter from fuel. And we're trying to spread that program across the United States as well. But additionally, under Noel's leadership, he's developing other things that are going to help with, cleaning up the water and some power solutions, some alternative power solutions. So we're developing some other exciting things as well. And we also created an environmental education platform with podcasts and online media to kind of teach people about, what they can do to make a difference. So that's Biofriendly in a nutshell.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Kind of on more of a macro scale, what type of trends are you guys seeing on the global sustainability front?
It's been interesting. As we all know, we've been watching the headlines. We're in a very unusual time. We would have, I would say, the last administration, you would have thought that they would have been all about what we were trying to accomplish. But there was this, I think it was a little bit of it's either this or that opinion of how we handle the environment, which is we're going electric, everything's electric. And that was a kind of a short-sighted goal. It got good headlines and clickbait to say, no more fuel, we're going electric. And a lot of those people weren't reading in deeper to what goes into completely switching your infrastructure over, and the level of mining that is required, and the level of what we're going to do with the batteries and the materials, and what do we do when they die. And it was almost like it was this Band-Aid, and nobody wanted to look at what was under it. And so we would go in and talk about what we're trying to do, because there are these massive machines spitting out emissions, and they will be, and we were going, we're here to help that problem. And during that time, a lot of people had their fingers in their ears. They're going, if you're talking about it, we're not interested. We're only focused on this one thing. So here we have this new administration, which is controversial because we have a switching of what people view in the United States as important in our resources. But for the first time ever, we're actually seeing a little bit of this could be useful. If we're going to be utilizing fuel, we would like to minimize its impact on cities and the environment and the health of people. And so we're in a really interesting place right now where you would have thought it would have been the other way around, but we're getting a little bit more attention and understanding about the importance of cleaning up our air now. So that's kind of how the landscape has changed, and it's every day it changes. Every day.
We'll get to tariffs in a bit, because those are also everyday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, certainly it doesn't feel like the change is going to stop, Jacob, for sure. Let's stay with that thread, if you don't mind. What are you seeing kind of trend-wise related to biofuel, sustainable fuels, short and long term from your perspective?
I mean, I think it's something that we have to embrace and utilize. If I'm all about innovative technology and brilliant minds smarter than me out there developing the next car or piece of transportation equipment that works, that has an ability to travel from across country without having to stop and plug your car in for 2 days. And I'm all for where we're headed with the future. But I think it's always short-sighted to say we should only go this one way. I think it's all about a diverse energy grid. I think it's important to, if we're going to utilize fuels, they should be biofuels. They should be fuels that are going to make a minimal impact on the environment. So I think they're going to be a part of what we do for quite some time. But I am also very pro brilliant lab coats in labs going, how do we do this? How do we minimize? Because sustainability is important. Of course, we all know that the resources that we're using are finite and we have to make them stretch in the long run. I have children. I want to leave a better world. And we have seen, not only through the programs that I talked about how refining helps reduce the pollution in California and additives reduced the pollution in Texas, but we saw during COVID how when we stop doing stuff, the air clears up.
Yeah.
So the fight has to continue for us to find a way, a balance of incorporating things like biofuels, sustainability in our day to day, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I just think that it's an all hands on deck issue. And I think the only way we do it is if we work together, and it's less screaming at each other and more kind of holding out a hand and saying, how do we get through this together?
I like it. You touched a little bit about our government, but how large of a role does regulation play and subsidies in this industry?
Pretty big. I mean, for us, indeed, the deal that we have in Texas is a regulation. That is a regulation that Texas had to do with the EPA for their air quality. And so there are a lot of states and cities in this country that are out of regulation. And so that is just, when we're talking particulate matter in the air, things that, young mothers, new mothers that have babies walking around these cities and breathing a lot of this stuff, it's crucial. It's crucial that we help reduce what they're breathing in every day. And I think that regulation is probably the only way that we get something like this done, because our biggest mountain to climb is the status quo. Do nothing. Like a lot of these businesses, it's like, I don't want to change anything. So I think that I think that regulation is an important part and a critical part in getting this done. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob, for sure. Next question here. Several years ago, Biofriendly completed an environmental survey, and the top responses or top concerns from that survey were climate change, air pollution, water pollution. So the question, I guess, is, has anything changed? What concerns would be at the top of the list today from your perspective?
Environmental concerns?
Yes.
I think if you ask the people that you asked in that survey, they'd still be concerned about that. We have a lot of headlines in the media that are trying to take our eyes off of that and focus more on our neighbors and how we disagree with each other. And I think that it's important to raising it back up to like the fight for the planet, the fight for sustainability, the fight for a better tomorrow. So I'd like to think that if you put out a survey now like that, I'd worry that there'd be a lot of distraction in those answers, that the things that they would complain about would be more about what this side is doing versus this side, and I disagree with this, and I want this in my schools, and I don't want this in my schools. It would just be a lot of this kind of feuding, and you'd almost want to peek out behind the quiz and go, "Hey, we also have air and water," and so I think we're in a very volatile time right now, and it's important for shows like this to educate people. Videos like mine to remind people that life is good and that we have a reason to celebrate and go see Green Day and the Smashing Pumpkins at Wrigley and have a great time together. And it's important for companies like mine, Biofriendly, to make a difference, whether people know it or not, whether it's behind the curtains. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need credit for it. We just want to do it.
I promised we'd talk about it. Any impact with tariffs going on right now? I mean, obviously there's overall impacts with everything, but how about in this space? Are tariffs impacting this space at all?
Thankfully, no. Our manufacturing facility is in Texas, and most of the things that we require are in the United States, and we're lucky in that regard. I'm sure it will touch us in some ways, because it touches just about everything. You look around, and it's hard to scan a room without thinking some of the goods, some of the materials, furniture, that could be something that you need from somewhere else or whatever it is. So we have a 3D printer for developing some of our projects that we're working on right now. So that helps us as well. But thankfully, no. But you don't know every day, like we talked about earlier. Every day is a new discovery, and we'll see where it touches us.
Yeah, none of us know, for sure.
None of us
Jacob,
know.
final question. We always like to ask our guests, if you had one takeaway for our listeners, what would that be?
One takeaway for your listeners: be good to each other. Be good to each other. Like you. If I could say anything to you, it's the person that you think is so different might be standing next to you at the next show, head banging, raising their hands in the air and loving the music. That's the same person that you're fighting with online. So be good to each other out there.
I like that. That's a good deep answer. Yeah,
It is deep.
making me think.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I know, exactly. No, but Jacob, really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure, guys. Andy, Chris, this is a great show, and I love the title. When I heard the title, I was like, yes!
Yeah,
I'm a dad, so puns rule.
Jacob, I don't know if you noticed or not, but we've got officially licensed mugs.
No way! I just now realized what those are.
Music is everywhere.
Yes, that's my logo there. I also have that tattooed on my arm.
Oh, no way.
Oh,
That is
whoa,
way
no
awesome.
way.
Yep. Yeah. So I came up with the design for Music is Everywhere for a t-shirt, and my whole life I'd never gotten a tattoo, and then just one day I was like, you know what? I'm putting that on my body.
I'm
Yeah, that
doing
is
it.
awesome.
Thank you.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, chemical family, industry partners, and friends. That's a wrap on another episode of the Smart Acids. Big thank you to our special musically inclined guest, Jacob Givens. Thanks for your time. Appreciate the insight. As always, thanks to our loyal listeners for continuing to hang out with us. And a big shout out to maybe some new followers or listeners. Welcome to the party. As a reminder, you can find the Smart Acids podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. See everyone soon.